Adversity, bring it. The struggle, we welcome it. Snooze on life, never that. We are Dave Regina and Mike Pirelli, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 139. As always, I'm in the booth with the big three. Michael, the show Pirelli, Claudio, the voice Valenzuela, and I am Dave, the body, suited and booted today, Regina. Full transparency, March 1st on record day. This will come out the second week of March. When it's a new month, Mike, and I have a very busy day on the first of the month, sometimes I like to put on my best just to put myself in a confident mindset to get me through the day. Got a long 16-hour day today, and I'm just embracing it one little meeting at a time.
Amen.
You know, and that's kind of what.
This is your best?
This is one of my best.
No mink to start the March with
This is one of my best. One of my best, man. You know?
Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
How you doing, my brother?
I've made a very big miscalculation with the fence. I'm going to come clean here. Hopefully
boy.
Dana doesn't listen to this episode because, well,
Dana doesn't listen anymore, right?
I don't think so.
No.
I hope not,
Right.
because it's not been great. So 3 a.m. You know when you wake up and you're like, there's a lot on your mind.
Yeah.
Like I think maybe Juliana was crying, so that initially woke me up, and then I waited a second, then she fell back asleep, and I was up. So your mind starts racing. You're just sitting there in the dark, and I'm like, does my fence have 6 slots horizontally or 12? So,
Gotcha. Okay.
in the place where I bought it, it's a 6 foot,
6
right?
foot, gotcha.
So you think 6, right? But the slats aren't a foot each, right?
What about underground? Oh, none of them are
It's
underground.
underground. They're horizontal ones, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So long story short, horizontal's this way, but there's ones that go, the posts that they lock into like a regular fence.
Yes.
Those are 6 feet, right?
Yes.
So in my head, I'm like, oh no, I think I miscalculated. And I'm like, it's expensive as a 6 slot fence for each, piece. I think it's 12. So I go back into the guide at 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh no. And I do the math and I'm like, oh my God, it says 12 slats. So I do quick math and I'm like, it's double cost that I thought it was. And in my head, I'm like, all right, maybe we just do one little corner. Maybe we just do like maybe instead of 6 portions, we do just a nice 2 right there.
Yeah.
And then in my head, I'm like, oh no, I poured concrete in the corner one. So I'm going to at least have to do 3 of them. So I'm already in my head trying to figure out how I'm going to get
And this
there.
is 3 a.m. thoughts.
Yeah, 3 a.m. And then I'm like, you know what? I have some points from the new credit card that I'll use towards like a couple pieces. So I'm going to buy the new pieces. And I'm just doing the math in my head. I'm like, this fence is going to take me forever to build.
Oh, boy.
So, Rome wasn't built in a day.
That's right.
Neither was my fence.
That's right.
But at 3 a.m., I literally did the math. And I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah.
But you can do 2 things in these situations in life. You can give up and be like, yes, I miscalculated. I'm going to have to drop down to like a wood fence or like still expensive or something else. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my sweet time. Every time I close a deal, maybe I'll buy another slat. Just add it, slide it right in.
12 slats, 12 years. No big deal. I mean, 100%. As long as it gets done, it gets done.
It's going to become like the saga of like the rest of the house can get renovated. And this fence is still going to be like, and then I'm going to put that last piece and we're going to have a big like
party
blowout for the fence.
I like it.
So anyway, long story short, sometimes when you dive into projects, it's good to get your feet wet. But maybe double check the math on the slats. I was kind of going, what are you gonna do?
That's
so that's my update of the fence.
Wow. I have a body update, man, which is strange. I can't remember this ever happening to me. So I've been a little creaky lately.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say your calves have been flat.
No, I don't have a calf problem. You say what?
Calves and abs,
flat, whatever. I've been a little creaky lately with my body, man. Like I've been feeling like some, I don't want to like ailments, just like, little
tweaks.
Yeah, like soreness in my body, but not like a good soreness, right? So I was kind of monitoring
like a pain?
Not a pain, but like I shouldn't be this sore from doing the workouts that I consistently do. So it started to creep up on me, and that was about a period, not gonna lie, for like a week and a half. I haven't taken I took 1 day off this year. So
I mean,
I'm
not a scientist or a detective, but Maybe you need a break.
Right. But for everything that's going on in my life right now, I actually lean on the gym as an outlet for just, stress and
sanity.
Sometimes I don't go crazy in the gym. Most of the times I end up going a little crazy. But one day then I woke up and I had to just literally take a day off.
Yeah.
And I did that and I hated it throughout the day. But you know what? I woke up the next day
fresh
and I felt very strong. And sometimes you just have to, because we've talked about this a lot, like the Goggins mindset. His brain is so much stronger than his physical, but then he ends up really screwing himself up in the long run. And I kind of felt myself getting to that level. Like my brain is so strong, like I could fight through it, but I'm doing pull-ups every day. Like why are my pull-ups hurting this much? Right? Why are my triceps feel like they're gonna like tear out of my...
Well, the thing is they're attached to the rest of your big ass body, so when it's pulling it up, it's a lot of strain.
Right.
You get that?
Right. But no, so I thought everybody would enjoy a little piece of advice. Sometimes you do need a day of rest.
Wow. Can we get that? Is this being recorded?
Right.
This might be the first time I think you've ever said that.
Right. I swear. But no, I mean, I'm back now. Hopefully I don't have to take another day off for another 75 days. But yeah, man, that's what it is.
I'm finding alignment.
Mike's like, I love it.
Like you're talking about, like the balance of it all, right? You question, why do we work out? Now it's a lot of, yes, obviously there's a physical result and benefit to feel good, but the mental portion of it is probably my favorite part of it lately. Yes. So I'm like, all right, well, in days where I can't get the workouts in, or at least the full workouts, like what can I do? And we've talked about in the past that I enjoy, and like bouncing around with the kids, like running around, getting the steps in is a very productive, enjoyable thing that keeps me on track, right? Like if I don't do anything, if say I get a mediocre workout in for whatever reason, and I don't do like the bounce around, get all my steps in, that doubt creeps in. It's like, why am I even working out? Because the mental's good, but then the physical results don't accompany it, which kind of discourage you, right?
Yes.
So it's finding that, and then really thinking about, like, I see, this is a funny way to think about it, but I see Livy just snacking on everything and wasting calories. And I'm like, this girl is nonstop, but she eats cheese doodles, muffins, like she's all over the map. And I find myself, there's a couple of cheese doodles, I have a couple, right? And then in my head, I'm like, man, what a waste. Like, just, it's not even a willpower thing. I wasn't even conscious of it. I'm literally sitting there with her and I grab one just to be a part of it. Yep. And I'm like, oh man, you do the math on that. I could have really enjoyed something, Yeah. And then I started to correlate that with kind of time, right? Like sometimes you sit down, you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, and you get in a hole, and 30 minutes passes.
Yes.
And you're like, what was I could have done something I could have worked out for an extra 30 minutes. I could have went a walk for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. I could have worked on my putting skills for 30 minutes, anything. So really kind of acknowledging that it's a stoic thing, but people protect their money like it's the end of the world. They don't want to waste any money. They go get coupons and whatnot. Like time is more valuable than money, but a lot of times we aimlessly just waste it. Mm-hmm. And I've been a lot more aware of it now that I have so little of it as far as getting things done. Like, yes, you need time to kind of like take a breath before you jump into the workday. I can't go from screaming kids, get them into the car with Papa, to like getting on calls. I need like 10 minutes to just like, all right, that's done. Let me reset type of thing. But you don't need an hour. You just got to switch into it. So the whole alignment thing has become very prominent in my life this year.
My compass. I got a compass.
Yeah, you got a compass. It's pointing south. So that's been interesting, but it all stems from like, all right, well, when I've had the most success in the past, it's when I'm able to really lock in on this one facet, like the diet and working out and lifestyle, and then not feel guilty when I have my burger or I have my pizza, like you've talked about. Like, yes, you can go super extreme and not do any type of cheating and like not eat anything and, make like an abbreviated version. But like, I don't want to eat the abbreviated version. Like if I want effing Pizza Hut, I earned effing Pizza Hut, like that's what life's about.
Yep.
Getting a little bit of everything. And if you enjoy something, you got to make time for it. And I'm really as I'm getting older and I talk and I have conversations, like Phil Tarantino's a little ahead of us. He's got 3 kids and we chat often. And I'm like, like in the past with business, I've fell into the trap of like, what's the best business decision versus what's the best lifestyle decision. and maybe the business won't be as lucrative, but my mental state and my enjoyment will be a lot more lucrative. So the net positive to go for lifestyle versus best business practice is sometimes the better choice.
And I think long term, the lifestyle choice I think is the go-to there.
So like, for example, like, I don't need to do pop-ups for the food brand, but I enjoy that stuff. Like, I don't need to, post about other things or whatever, but I enjoy it. I don't need to do a podcast. I enjoy it. So like doing the things that you enjoy and not just cutting them out because you're just thinking dollars and cents and time. You're thinking about like enjoyment, fulfillment, all that, rah-rah stuff.
Good. I love that analogy with the money.
Right?
It's very good. Yeah, that one hit for me. I don't know why.
And we waste money. Like I waste money all the time.
Coupon
like,
thing
that's not worth it.
That's good.
Yeah. The question now that I keep asking myself, and I don't know if you ask, like, is it worth it? Do you ever ask yourself that?
Oh yeah.
All the time?
Oh yeah. we'll get into that.
But I've literally chewed stuff and spit it out because like, what am I doing? It's not worth it.
Right.
That's not worth that cow.
Yep.
I don't know if it's bad to do that, but
it's, could be borderline anorexia, but
no,
chew things and spit them out.
You can't call that anorexia if I'm hammering a double bacon.
You can't be too something anorexic.
You can't be too something doing something.
That's right. Yo, guys, I need a little help talking me through this. There's so something happened for the first time as a parent that I'm sure our listeners who have children have much more experience with.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you've experienced this yet with Livy Lou, but so Callie goes to school and get a little report back that someone pushed her. For the second time now, though.
It's probably Livy who pushed her.
I wish, because then I'd feel okay about it. So this young boy, and the teacher's like, well, we don't disclose the child's name. I'm like, Callie, who was it? She's like, Elijah.
Yeah.
I said, young Ja, come here.
Yeah.
Young Ja.
Isn't that funny how they don't disclose it? And the kid's like, it was whoever.
But literally, I'm like, Callie, who is it? She's like, Elijah. Yeah. So Callie was on these elevated blocks. Right, so they were big blocks, like foam standing blocks, but she wasn't supposed to be on the blocks. And Elijah has a little social interaction issues, we've been told, but like that's not my issue, right? Like I'm cool that he is in a class and he's functional in the class, but still, like, don't push my child, right?
Are these real names or are you using fake names?
No, these are real names.
Let's use fake ones.
No, okay. So we'll call
Because what if, Big E's parents listen to this?
We'll call him Young Joe then, okay?
Joe,
we'll change it, Joe. So, Callie's doing what she's not supposed to do, and Young Joe comes over and kind of throws her off, and Callie goes, like, tumbling down, cries. The teacher picks her up. They write the report on it, blah, blah, blah. So then, now you get home, you get the full story, whatever. And in my head, I'm like, well, what do you explain to a 2.5-year-old on how to handle yourself, right? And really in my head, I'm like, when you see that boy coming, you want to punch him right in the face. But I can't say that to her, right? So then this is what I came up with, and I want to know if I'm ridiculous for this. So I said, when he's coming near you, you scream, no! And then you run and tell the teacher before he hits you. But like, what else am I supposed to do? And how can I articulate to her, like, all right, listen, if this kid puts his hands on you one more time, you push him back. Because I don't want her to do that because she's too young. But at some level, like I remember my parents telling me, this kid was bullying me in like 8th grade. And they're like, listen, you can get suspended and we'll support you. But don't hit this kid first. If this kid hits you, then you square up and hit him right in the nose. Right, defend yourself. But like, I can't be telling my kid that at 2.5 years old, can you?
Here's a political answer. I don't know the right answer. It's case by case.
It's tough though, right? This is a tough situation.
I'm personally having a hard time parenting just in general, so I don't even want to give any type of advice. No, 100%. Like,
but what do you think though? Like what?
I don't know. Livy's usually the one pushing. So we're like, listen, be nice to the kids. Don't push.
Right.
Like, you have to treat everyone nice, right? You got to be nice. You got to share. Like, we're coming from a very basic level of like, you need to be a nice person.
Yeah.
Which, Livy also tells tall tales. I don't know what's true, what's wrong. The report's very vague. Me and Dana are laughing because she's making up stories. Like, I don't know what she does during the day. So it's hard to figure out like what's going on. Seems like the teachers like her. So I'm like, worst case, you're not going to get expelled.
The bigger question I would have would be, what was the staff doing that they couldn't anticipate this?
Dude,
no,
there's 20 kids running around. Like, there's no way.
Yeah,
these kids are
there better be somebody watching.
CV, I'm going to send you to pick up one day. It is hilarious. There is bodies, people screaming in the hallway. It's so funny.
And even the teacher's like, I got to clock out now.
Kids crying and licking windows. Like, ah! It's like
I got one I could barely handle at CV. They got 20 and 12.
It's
they
wild.
got 12 in there. You know?
Not to say that I don't have kids, but I kind of do
Yeah,
work with
yeah, you
kids.
do.
I do see that happening.
Yes.
And these are older than 2-year-olds, but it's no different. The behavior is the same.
Right, dude, right.
They still
That's
do the
very
same
true.
stuff. So my question would be like, what was the staff doing? It happened twice, you said?
Well, not that same interaction, but there was.
But with the same child?
Yes.
Well, that to me is
That's
the
what I said.
It's a
I'm like,
trend.
yo, like, I'm all for.
Because the kids are kids, right? And so they're going to
Yes.
make their mistake. My
Correct.
opinion, they're going to make their mistakes, and yes, part of life and making the mistake is learning. What's right and what's wrong, especially at that age. They're learning personal.
And they
states
told me
all
young
those
Joe,
things, right?
young Joseph couldn't talk, and I'm like, well, that's fine. Like, I hear you, and I'm glad that he's interacting, like I said, but still don't push my child. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
That's when you smack his paw.
I know. So then, you know
Don't
what's
do it
funny
again.
though? You know what's funny? I go to pick her up the other day, and guess who comes running at me? Young Joe, and he gives me a hug on the knee, and I'm like, "What's up, buddy?
maybe
Don't
he
touch
was
my
apologizing.
kid! Don't touch my kid ever again!" Give him a nice big squeeze. So that was one side of things.
Was it
And-
malicious? Do we know?
No, I don't think so. But he meant.
I
this
think
what
you're
the-
overthinking
This is
it.
what the teacher told me. He
Maybe.
wanted to tell her, "No, you're not supposed to be on that." So he threw her off of it.
I can see that.
Yeah, like-
I Livy would do something like
right. But then we go to McDonald's.
So his intentions were.
We're in the playground. We're in the playground, and literally, like you said, just Callie's a little aggressive at times, but she's very aggressive with these hugs. She like hugs people, and she like drags her cousin Lundy along the road, and like just kind of like just brings her everywhere with her. So she picked up this girl
brings her everywhere with
who
her.
was older than her, and literally just body slammed her, but was like, "Oh." Like, oh, and she was like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, Callie, you can't like squeeze.
It's like a
and-
sweet and sour
She was
kid.
trying to do something nice, but literally just picked her up and body slammed her. It's probably because she eats more steak than any.
I mean,
two
for
and a
all
half
you
year old I've
know,
ever seen.
for all you know,
She's got a lot of creatine going through those veins.
for all you know, she went and she hugged hard young John,
John.
and then he was like compelled to go, give her a little
All
tumble.
right, whatever. I don't know. I just let's move on. But so you guys got nothing for me.
I mean, as long as I stay healthy.
yeah. All right, good. Stay blessed. All right.
I'll tell you one thing. If I get another bill from this daycare, I might
Oh
tell
my-
Livy to go punch someone in the face so we can get out of that
That's
place.
crazy, right?
Oh, Dane, I don't know. She got kicked
Yeah.
out. Come on. You're coming
Come
with
on.
Dad to work.
We're going real estate entrepreneurship 101.
Sit there. Yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's get into the topic of the day. But before we do so, CV, let them know where we get this protein at.
Are we still rocking with working?
We wanted to take a quick second to let you guys know that we partnered with our good friends over at Orgain.com. We're happy to offer our listeners 30% off by entering the code NOSNOOZE30. Again, that's NOSNOOZE30 for 30% off your first order. If you're on the market for a new protein powder, nutritional shake, protein bar, or Mike's favorite, collagen peptides, Orgain is your one-stop shop. As all of you know, my Crohn's disease is currently in remission, and the only protein I use is from Orgain. My personal favorites are the chocolate peanut butter and the vanilla bean. With the code, you can try a 2-pound tub for under $20. Talk about not snoozing. Go get yours today. Now, back to the epi.
All right, so today's topic actually came from the big brain, Claudio the Voice Valenzuela today. And we will be discussing the concept. Well, I guess it's more of like how to stop self-sabotaging. And when he brought it up, we were kind of having like a little dialogue back and forth. And I'm like, well, how is it different from, limiting beliefs or self-doubt? And I think, kind of what I came up with in terms of self-sabotage, it's more of like the negative action that you really take continuously that ends up compromising whatever you're really trying to accomplish in any aspect of your life, right? Like having a limited belief is different than the actual self-sabotage because I believe there's a negative action attached to the sabotage. It's kind of how I'm identifying
Default
it.
in to a bad habit.
Right. So, that got me thinking, the big science, the big statistic, and we've shared this on the podcast before, but we know as a scientific fact now that every individual has between 12 and 60,000 thoughts a day.
Wow.
And up to,
By the way, that's a big difference.
correct,
I think I'm at the 60.
12 to 60,000 a day. 80% of them are negative thoughts. But these are so subconscious to the level of like we can't even imagine. So I was thinking like how you're going to explain this, but something as easy for us to put a blinker on, go over to the next lane, and drive, there has been so many thoughts that have happened on a negative basis before you actually take that action to put the blinker on. Because subconsciously you've been thinking to yourself, well, I'm not just not going to put my blinker on. I'm not just going to not look in the mirror because I know that there might be a repercussion of somebody smashing me from behind. Right? Like, so that those are the amounts of thoughts that are happening. But really to us, we don't remember it because the one conscious thing that we did was actually tap the blinker, look in the mirror, and move to the next lane. Go ahead, CV. You got something?
No, I think you just answered it. So
What car are we driving?
a lot of these thoughts are subconscious.
Subconscious, yes.
So
yes.
you don't even remember them half the time.
Right, correct. Right. But so that also got me thinking, like, damn, if 80% of these things are negative, that means these successful people in life, and if we're positive people, we're really thriving only off of 20%. So imagine, right? That's pretty crazy. Isn't that really crazy to
That's
think
my
about?
life motto, thriving off of 20.
So then when I got thinking about it, I'm like, wait a minute. The people who are like actually anxious all day long and actually depressed, they're probably more along like the 97% of negative thoughts versus the 80%. Because if we can be successful off of 20%, I mean, imagine what you can do with just 10%.
Well, doesn't it? I'm assuming it fluctuates, right?
Of course.
Like averages out.
Yes.
You know, some days you have 80% positive when you're like, you know, on vacation. I'm
Right.
sure those are positive. I would hope. I mean, I don't know.
And then it's ironic because then when I started, like, you know, then I get to thinking, and before I go to bed, because CV had this conversation, and he's like, well, you know, tonight when you ponder about it, just start thinking. So then I'm thinking, like, ironically, the word sabotage, I don't believe it associates with how it's like communicated. I don't think in our brains it's actually a bad thing. I think it's a positive thing because it's trying to protect us and keep us safe. Right? So by us having these negative thoughts, the negative sabotage really is just our brains saying, you know what? Let's not take this risk. Let's remain safe. Let's do exactly what it is that we know that we can just get by with. You know, don't put yourself under any distress. And go ahead, ZB.
Is that even when you're sabotaging your health?
Not with the actions. So then that's where I think it starts to switch when you take the actions, right? But the word sabotage itself, when you have the negative thought, it's just really a protective mechanism.
So let me see if I understand. So what
Yep,
you're kind of saying is when you're too far away from home base,
Yes.
and your homeostasis.
Whoa!
Is that the right use of it? Who thought
Yo.
that we'd be using homeostasis in this
Oh,
podcast?
big
Unbelievable
homeo.
word drop. We need a segment where best word of the episode.
yes.
Try to top that one.
That was incredible.
So when you're far away from home, the gravity pulls you back to kind of what's normal.
Yes.
Unless you break through and then you establish a new normal.
Boom.
It kind of makes sense
Right.
because there's been a lot of times where I'm way away from home and I just bam.
Yes. So that now I think, you know, we have different signs of like, when are you self-sabotaging, right? Because there's a lot of things that I think we don't even really articulate as a self-sabotage. I'm in the gym today and I'm talking to this guy and he looked like doggy doo-doo. And I could just see it in his eyes because he's usually a very positive guy. So I'm like, yo, what's going on, man? He's like, man, the snow messed me up yesterday. I'm like, why? Right. And we have these conversations.
It wasn't
so
good
like,
for
why?
making snowmen.
Right. What?
It wasn't good for making snowmen. I'm real pissed.
So he was basically like, you know, I had this whole day. He's so stupid.
That's pretty good, man. Pretty good.
He's like, I had this whole day planned. And, you know, everything just went to shit because then I ended up staying inside smoking weed. I'm like, wait, stop.
Amen, brother.
Stop. I said, stop.
Wait. How was he
Correct.
planning a whole day when you know it's going to snow?
Amen.
Correct. But he's a truck driver. So he didn't know like kind of how his day was going to go. But he said, I had all these things. But before I know it, now I'm smoking weed all day. I'm eating like shit. Now I feel terrible because I'm anxious the next day because I did drugs the night before. And so I said,
Are you disclosing to people when you have these conversations with them? Or you're like, listen, you're probably going to be on the podcast. If
they
you
don't
tell
know
me
who this is. How many truck drivers smoke weed in the world?
Watch.
Right? So anyway, I said, yo, man, but like, was this a form of self-sabotage? He's like, I couldn't control the snow. I'm like, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. But what'd you do yesterday that was positive? He's like, nothing, because it snowed outside. I'm like, nah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like there were things that you could have done and you now chose, because we are the same way we choose to put on our clothes. You can actually choose the thoughts that you want to think at a moment. When you become conscious of these thoughts, you can say to yourself, oh, this is a negative one. Tim Grover, the old coach for Michael Jordan, just coming up, he has this thing where he taps himself in the head when he has a negative thought.
That dude scares me.
He's tough. He is
scares
tough.
me.
But he said, yo, sometimes people bump into me because he stops, taps himself in the head, and then he walks forward when he has a negative thought. Because he says, I'm conscious of it now, even though I had all these unconscious ones. As soon as the negative one comes about, my man is slapping himself in the head.
Dave's just gonna be walking around going like
So
this.
60,000 times a day.
Yeah.
Right. So I told him, I said, listen, like, let's walk through this. And I said, the big misconception I think in life, and we've expressed this multiple times, is, for you to show up and be your best one day doesn't mean that you have to give 100% of your best. You just have to give 100% of what you can give for that day. So if during a snow day, you can only rock at a 30%, then give that 30%.
But snow's the best. Like, what does he have at home going on that snow screws you up?
Because he ended up not working out. He ate like shit all day, and now he's depressed the day after
I get
because
that.
he chose to now smoke weed, and there's after effects, I guess,
He
of
didn't
smoking
have
weed.
to go clean his truck or his driveway.
Of course, he did all that stuff, but he just felt like he
well,
did
that was
nothing.
productive.
He felt nothing. Right. That's it. That's
I wouldn't give him points.
That's
for
your
that.
perspective.
When it snows, it flows. All right.
Right.
That's why he fell into that.
And so I explained it as like a self-sabotage. And he's like, damn, I didn't really think about that. He's like, I allowed this snowstorm. He said it. He said, I allowed this snowstorm to take over my entire life for 24 hours, and now I'm a depressed piece of shit.
Do you think people?
That's literally what he said.
Do you think
That thought, by the way, is a very self-sabotaging
yes, of course, of course.
Do you think not being stubborn enough is a problem for a lot of people?
Ooh, yes.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty stubborn. So, like, not to say that I can just plow through anything, pun intended.
Hey.
Man, on fire.
big plow.
Homeostasis. Let me drop that one again. Tomato. I'll hit you whatever say.
Verbatim.
Verbatim.
No, listen. Tell him verbatim what it do.
Verbatim, baby. I don't know. A lot of the times I think back to, like, if I wasn't as stubborn, I wouldn't have done, like, probably 90% of the stuff I've done in my life.
You know what's crazy?
Good or bad.
I
mean,
think, stubborn has such a negative connotation to it that stubbornness is what makes people, like, successful.
Right. Oh,
I think a lot of the time.
Anyone that gets discouraged could easily go down the path of I'm going to quit whatever it is I'm quitting.
right.
Or
But if you're
delusional,
stubborn,
one of the two.
well, but if you're stubborn, you're going to
both.
stick to whatever plan that you had.
Yeah.
So yes, it gets, I think, the bad rap for being a negative thing, but it's really maybe I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I was able to identify 3 things specifically that are signs of when I am going down a rabbit hole of self-sabotage.
Okay.
And I think most people will be able to relate on some level to it. But the first one is avoiding responsibilities. And that includes even if I forget. Now, I think there's levels to this self-sabotage because if I have a responsibility and I really want to follow through on the responsibility, what do? I put it in my calendar, right? So for me to forget something really is allowing and leaving it open for me to end up sabotaging myself in the long run. And then what I do is I'm like, oh yeah, I just forgot about it. All right. So that's one example. The second one is not following through on the commitments just to myself. When I really want to, when I'm at my best, I can say that I'm going to do something as small as I'm going to get up and make my bed. Boom, I make my bed. When I self-sabotage, I'm like, I know that I should do this, but then for whatever reason, I don't do it. When I notice that pattern happening, that's my form of self-sabotage. The third one, like we spoke about before, misalignment. And I have misalignment between my desires of what I really want and then my actions. For example, and not to give too much out in the open, but there are some nights that I stay out way too late, and not even out in the club. I'm just saying, like, on my couch drinking with my buddies when I know that I have significant responsibilities the next morning. And I still get everything done, so I kind of like justify it in my head. But that is a major form of self-sabotage. I know for me to be at my best, I should not be on my couch at 2 a.m. still with a beer in my hand.
I would
and a
argue
place.
this. I would argue this.
Oh, yeah?
Because if you just nonstop, and there's no relief of all the pressures of life, even if you're tired the next morning, like for me at least, I've enjoyed having that late beer and like a cigar, even though it's not the most productive. Because I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind tomorrow, so I might as well lose my mind while I'm a little tired.
Yep.
You know? Like,
But then you're saying in moderation, in balance, then that's okay.
Yeah.
Which I
mean,
think is okay. But I guess, not to his point, but I guess if you argue it like, if that's something that you start doing all the time,
Yes.
then you're
Yeah.
essentially creating this bad habit, which in reality, you're just self-sabotaging. Because every Sunday, you
Yeah.
have maybe a lot of responsibility,
Yeah.
and you choose one Saturday night bender, no problem.
Yeah.
You need it.
Yeah.
But if you start doing it every single weekend consistently,
Yeah. If it's a trend.
And I'm not at that level for sure.
No. I was just putting
but
it out.
no. I want to be clear because I'm trying to be open about things, but also not like I don't do this every week.
Yeah. For me, I'm like, if I lose my sanity, it all doesn't matter.
Then it all
so
doesn't
like
matter.
sanity for me has become priority because of how hard it's been. And then it's like, all right, then productivity comes after sanity. I got to make sure I'm sane for a while.
I agree.
Is
with
that
yes.
weird?
I like that. No. This one I think is going to hit too. And subconsciously, I think people are going to relate to it after I say it. When we're on the fence of things, of decisions.
Don't say fence. It's a sore subject.
is it a finished fence?
I'm still working on it.
I think when we have two options, right? We tend to unconsciously go in one direction, which ultimately takes away from the other alternative that we can do because we've already done something in the sabotage way. So an example would be like, if you have the thought of, should I go to the gym? Should I not go to the
Too
gym?
hard. I'm not going.
What?
Like, that's too hard. I'm not going.
Right. So then you have it's too hard, I'm not going. But then you really have the choice to be like, well, it's breakfast time. Should I go have, slam some bacon, egg, and cheeses? Or should I have some good protein before I go to the gym? Then it's like, well, subconsciously we'll just keep eating the bacon. And then you're like, well, I ate the bacon. I might as well give me the juice, like give me a mimosa.
Hell yeah.
And then you're like, well, my decision's already made, So like I was on the fence of something, but I subconsciously started to go in the direction of sabotage. And then that ended up making my decision. That's a very small example, but I think it's the same even on a risk factor in like business and starting something new.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did I articulate that in a decent way?
Yeah. Sometimes, at least for myself, when it's not planned and it jumps up.
Yep.
And two scenarios, right? If I nail the week and it's like that feeling of you deserve it, but it's more than that now. It's more like, well, I can go to the diner with the family and have a breakfast. I can have a little bit of potatoes and eggs and like something that's not ideal, but it doesn't throw me completely off.
But
So
that's
that
you
kind of-
rewarding yourself for being consistent.
Well, that's like, I have a level of guilt with things. If, for example, I don't work all day and then I go out in the evening and have a great time, I feel guilty I got nothing done that day. So just getting a little bit done or making progress through the week keeps me on track.
Right.
So the self-sabotage doesn't happen because I'm not basically throwing the day away. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I usually negotiate. You're not supposed to negotiate with yourself, but I do it a lot. All right, well, if I'm going to go and have lunch at the Plaza, which is very underrated, Bomb and Greenwich Avenue,
The Plaza.
I got to work out. If I'm doing it, I got to get my workout in. You can't do it and not work out. So like I kind of negotiate that stuff with myself.
I like it. I like that. This one, so I read an article last night too on sabotage, and this is straight from that article. But blaming others when things go wrong is something we do all the time. But this example was hard for me to even kind of agree with. But this is what I'm saying when I think there's levels to sabotage. So I'm just going to read it right from it. But it says, so say your partner has some relationship behaviors that affect the both of you. You decide they won't change, and then you break up with that partner. You feel good about the breakup since their unwillingness to change kept you from moving forward together as a unit. And your friends even agree that you did the right thing. Sounds like that person sounds good to me, right? Maury Joseph, who is a psychologist in exactly, it's weird, it's like a science of sabotage, says if you don't take time to explore how you might have contributed to some of those behaviors in that relationship, you sabotage your chance to learn and grow from that experience. How crazy is that? There's levels, I think. Like this is now, I sabotage that at all levels if this is the case. Yeah. You agree?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Did that make sense, Mike, or no?
And my brain's in a pretzel. I don't know what the hell you just said.
Really?
I don't know. For me personally,
You're saying if you stop a
I
situation.
definitely related to that.
Yeah.
I'm going through something like that right now. And not with my spouse, but with
right.
a relationship I have.
Yeah.
And everything you said.
I know. Mike, I think when you listen back, this happens to me too. Sometimes when you say things, I'm kind of lost in the moment.
Off, yeah.
Right. But when you go listen back to it, I think it'll make sense.
Whenever things are going off in a relationship for me, I always do naturally gravitate to like, is it me? What did I do? I do do that naturally, but hearing it like this,
Yes, it's
it was
crazy.
like, damn, maybe
I don't know
maybe
if-
I am the one sabotaging what's
Yes.
going on.
So I don't know if it correlates, but I'm trying to not have much of an opinion on certain things because I don't care, which is a terrible thing to say. But like certain things that have created a little like unnecessary strain or sabotage, if you want to use the word, I'm finding that like it's okay not to care, like not to have an opinion on things. You don't always have to argue a point. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
On anything. I mean, talking to people, oh, what do you think of this place?
But what if it matters to you? Because I
And
think
you
that's
can
what you're
argue.
alluding
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
But it doesn't because I don't.
But
care.
I'm saying we're in a we're
Because
kind
nothing
of
matters.
no. I mean, there's certain things, but like if someone talks about food's an easy example, or like working out, and they talk about like they're working on this, you don't have to like give advice or explain like
Yeah,
you
but that's
shouldn't
not
do
that
it this way.
that's
you
not
should
that
do it
important, Mike. What if it's like something in your personal life that really affects you and you really care?
Then that's a conversation. But a
now
lot
you
of
really have
things.
to force yourself to care.
But what I'm trying to say is sometimes I default to having an opinion, even though I don't really have an opinion, just to have the conversation. Does
Yes,
that
I
make sense?
understand that. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that correlates, but you made me think of that. And then the other thing that makes me think of is like an imposter syndrome.
Ooh, that's big.
I have a lot of that.
read
That's
about
been
that.
my biggest self-sabotage is when I can't handle the pressure. I default to like over drinking or something on a night out because I don't know how to cope with the stress.
I'm not there, by the way, when he's doing that, so it's not me.
100%
I don't want
you're
you to think that no snooze.
You're
is
100% there. You're right next to me. No, like something like that, or like, a lot of bad things in a row happen, and then you kind of question, like, am I even good? Which then pulls you out of the action. So sometimes I'm trying to think less and just do.
Yes,
Because a lot of stuff, even this podcast has made me overthink because I'm constantly talking about all these things, which then kicks up things in my head of like, oh yeah, that was interesting. I failed here. I did
That's a good technique though to get yourself out of that. Because I mean, I
What?
think
Thinking less?
Yeah, like kind of just doing the more action thing, kind of you were saying. Because if you think about it, I mean, I think everybody goes through moments where there's some a little bit of self-sabotage in everybody.
Yeah.
No matter whether you're the most headstrong or the least headstrong. I think the more headstrong people eventually get themselves out a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Whereas the ones that don't probably struggle a lot more and will linger in that self-pity, stage for way longer than they really have to.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, everyone I think goes through this. I don't think anyone's immune to this. I don't care how, even David Goggins, I'm sure. I mean, he built this whole thing based on turning that around.
Yeah.
A
lot of my frustration and self-sabotage comes from lack of progress or feeling like I'm not making progress in certain areas of life. So like parenting, I had a rough time like trying to get the kids to sleep. I mean, Dana too, but Dana has a little better of a handle on it. And like being bounced between kids and neither of them going to sleep for me makes you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm trying to put them to sleep, they're not going to bed. Then when they go to bed, I'm up in the middle of the night. Then in the morning, I'm losing my temper on them. So like it kind of builds where if I just don't think about it that much and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. I can't put them to bed tonight. I don't know what's going on and not overthink that as like I'm a bad parent or I don't know what the hell I'm doing versus just they don't feel good or tonight's not a night they're going to sleep. Then the extreme ownership I think can work against you.
Yes.
Sometimes when you think it's all your fault, which sometimes productive, sometimes not, it becomes this like internal conversation of like, why, like change, do something different. And then it creates this unneeded stress versus kids. I mean, they're kids, right? Like that whole, so it's been, I go through waves of both, but I've found with parenting, thinking less and just being in the moment has been way more productive than overthinking situations, trying to control stuff too much, like trying to force your agenda on the kids. Like it's, being along for the ride has been a lot more productive and then like hasn't caused me to self-sabotage because I'm not in a negative mode.
Good. No, that's well said.
Hard,
though.
though.
I think now what I'm going to do is let young Ja walk free because of what you just said.
This
I'm going
poor
to think
kid.
less about this.
Maybe he listens. Maybe he's advanced. He doesn't talk because he's always listening to the podcast.
So this is another one where I get deep in my thoughts, and I'm like, all right. So I think this is a good example of also a form of sabotage, and it's not being clear on exactly what you want to say and the desired outcome kind of that you need in a moment, but it's a lack of clarity, for better words, right? So I'm in the supermarket the other day, and I'm going to I go to the register, I'm pulling up on my cart, a couple items.
All meat. That's all I envision. It's
Steak,
like every
steak,
meat item,
steak, ground turkey, steak.
Nothing but meat in this cart.
So
Paint the visual, dude.
Literally. I mean, so it was a lot of meat, some Greek yogis.
Don't lie. All meat.
Some Oreos, so
It's funny.
But so I'm going, and I'm casual. I got, my worship music in the ear.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
Do you blast it?
No, not blast, because I don't want to not hear what else is going on in life. People will always talk maybe in my ear. And
sometimes better drown them all.
Yeah, I don't care about anything, right?
Yeah.
So sure enough, this old lady comes literally flying in front of me and just cuts me off. And she just pulled in like it was like nothing.
Sick.
And then I thought to myself, because I knew I actually had a Zoom meeting that I had to attend, but I had to get home at a certain time and attend this meeting. So in my head, I'm like, did this chick really just cut me off? And then in my head, I'm like, you got the worship music playing in your ear. Like, be a nice guy. She's old. She doesn't even see me.
I don't like how you're calling
She's
her old like
90,000 years of age. She's a fossil.
Dude.
She has no hair left. The 3 hairs that she has are gray.
You're killing our demographic here. 90% of our listeners are 90 plus.
So you get what I'm saying, though. So super old. But but in reality, what I just did was now I forced myself into anxiety mode because I was rushing home because she took forever, because she was old, to ring up her items. So now I'm sitting there and I'm starting to sweat to the point that I'm like, yo, I need to go another lane. Like, let me just back out of here and like go self-checkout because this chick is taking so long. Now I'm driving home and I'm rushing to get on this damn Zoom meeting, and I end up being late to the Zoom meeting. And I really couldn't afford to be late to this meeting. It was just an important thing that had to be presented in a proper time, and I showed up late, and I made the excuse like, listen, somebody cut me off, blah, blah, it's Sunday, I was feeling good. But I self-sabotaged myself because really in the moment what I should have just said, hey, lady, excuse me, you just cut me off and I actually have somewhere to go. Mm-hmm. And not in a disrespectful way, but even sometimes when you're trying to be nice, you're actually self-sabotaging yourself. If there's something to do. Like, if there was nothing to do, then maybe I'm not sabotaging. But I literally looked like an idiot on my meeting because I thought that I tried to do something nice for this old lady.
Yeah. See, what I would do, my recommendation there is like, hey, listen, I'm going to be a couple minutes late. Doesn't really matter.
What, send the text up front?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's the big deal? 5 minutes? If you think of me less of a person because I'm 5 minutes late for a call, I didn't do enough good that you respect me enough.
Yeah, I think there's a time.
The reason I say this
Yep.
is because a lot of my stress and sabotage, or whatever, not even sabotage, just stress, is being behind schedule.
Yep.
And then the realization of like, listen, I'll get it done. Yeah, maybe, I'll be a couple minutes late here. Maybe I'll have to pick up something later in the evening. But it's a extenuating circumstance that's not worth the bandwidth to get frustrated.
Right. I like that. I do.
It's hard though.
It's
very
hard. It is hard.
Like when you're late for doing your appointments and whatnot, and the kids aren't complying, and you're trying to get everyone out the door, just like taking a breath and be like, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. At the end, they're healthy. I'm healthy. Maybe a couple appointments are going to be a little screwy, but I got to be better at adjusting. Mm-hmm. I got to be better at just kind of like going with the flow and getting stuff done, not when things are convenient.
Right. Okay.
Man, that's such hard work.
It's so hard.
It is.
But
because you're going against your natural instinct to react or to just do you.
I went so far into the getting things done phase before baby 1 and 2 because I got back into the lock-in mode with like the 10% challenge, where I had so much social media getting done before 7 a.m., 9 a.m., whatever it is, working out, eating breakfast. Like I did the majority of my productiveness from 4:30, 4-ish to 9. Like now I can't get anything done.
Which is a significant amount of time too, right? You
So
probably
that's-
felt so accomplished by 9 a.m. after almost 4.5 hours.
So I started to
being-
self-sabotage, being like, damn, like I had all this lined up. I can't do it. I can't be like a good dad and do all this stuff. Like versus, all right, well, now maybe you're not going to post on social media as much, but it's temporary. You'll figure it out. Post at night. The reach isn't as good, but stay in the routine. And then when you have that opportunity to implement it again, you'll be ready. But don't kill yourself because you can't get it done because you are. The thing I had to think about was like, I'm building a family. And like the reason I chose real estate was to be around the kids. So like, I can't be saying like, I'm not going to be around the kids in the morning because I'm doing real estate stuff or whatever. Like you need to fit real estate within your family life, not the vice versa.
Yes.
And that kind of switch made me be a little less anal. Like, I don't want to go out of business.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But I also don't need to be the number one agent in Greenwich.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't even know if I've said it on the podcast, but like your goalpost adjusts to your life circumstance. And it's okay to say, all right, I don't want that. That's what majority, 99% people want this. I chose this other route, and I'm okay with maybe losing a couple deals because of this family life. Right?
Right.
It's all that yin and yang. So the not getting stuff done for 5 hours in the morning, if you do the math, big math guy, 7 days a week, 35 hours, you're losing a week. It's a lot of effing time.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's big.
So-
that I actually could relate to that too, even with the podcast stuff, because full transparency, you know, we get paid on Instagram now to post, right? You know that.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, millions. So I have been almost, I thought I was sabotaging when I don't post, but it's actually the reverse. Like sometimes I sabotage my own sanity just to post.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's not worth it.
Right. Because I'm like, wait, why would I not make this money? We spend money. So like, why would you not make, even if it's a couple dollars to post a freaking quote, like go get that money. And on the couple days that I don't post, it makes me, I do feel like an angst, and I feel a little like stupid for not taking the action. But then after, when I look back, I'm like, so what? Like, what do we, a couple bucks here and there? Like, you know what I mean? It's not life-changing money anyway, but I do constantly battle that same thought that you're saying.
Well, it's a balance, because then if you don't post, then you don't post all week, and that's not good.
That's not, that's
because
big.
I do that.
Yes.
So like with my real estate page, I didn't post for a long time. I was doing some stories, but I'm like, you know what? I don't have the bandwidth right now. It's not good, but I don't care.
You just
like,
string the negativity along.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what
like,
happens.
I don't care. The thing that keeps me sane, at least, is like at the end of the day, I know what I'm doing. So yes, it's gonna be hard to start it back up, but you can judge me at the end of the year and be like, oh, he crushed it. Like, so it's constant though. That like back.
Yeah,
and forth.
yeah.
How do you
Big time.
build this bulletproof mentality?
Well, first off, it's not bulletproof.
We're not bulletproof.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say it's
Right,
I didn't
right.
say it's. I, mean,
I don't think
the
you can
mentality
build-
itself.
Yeah.
So
Because in order to be
I think
able
it's
to
a
not,
philosophy.
in order to be able to not self sabotage,
not a
you
mindset.
have
Big
to
for
have
yourself.
a thought process, a bulletproof thought process. Whether
Yes.
you're bulletproof or not is one thing.
Yeah.
But to get there, to be able to say, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. Because I'm thinking, right, and when I get frustrated at something, it could be very easy, and I can do it now because I'm calm.
Yeah.
To be like, you know what, let me walk in the other direction. Let me not get upset.
Yep.
In that moment.
Yeah.
It's extremely
Right.
difficult to be able to curb that natural instinct that you have to kind of attack or you know.
So this is my thought, and you'll like.
And we're
this.
getting into the meat and bones.
This is
now,
good.
because this is basically how you
develop your
avoid
kind of philosophy on life,
right, and how you avoid the sabotage.
Yeah, so like anger is not a very productive, in most cases, productive emotion, people say. Yes, sometimes you turn into motivation to work out, but that's like when it's contained, you know, and you get an outlet somewhere else. So you're still releasing it. You're just using it to go work out or go for a walk or do something productive. So I have so much input coming in, and I like taking inspiration from a lot of stuff. But lately, I've had my most success when I've followed kind of someone's religion in their thoughts and their way they're building out their life. So like this Ryan Holiday guy, which you think's a dork, which is fine, you know.
No, but I think he has good thoughts though.
I kind of remember getting started in the real estate world, and the level of stress I did not know how to handle. And I was self-sabotaging. You know, Dana had a 30th. I literally got carried out by you at the 30th.
Good thing I was.
And when I looked
strong
back
enough.
at it, I was like, man, like I just couldn't deal with the stress. So I was looking for an out. I was looking for a way to get away from it versus like managing it based on kind of what you can control. So instead of going to that evening and be like, listen, all these deals are happening. They could all go to zero, right? I could make zero money. This whole night for her birthday might, you know, be a big loss. I'll figure it out. I can't control it. I have to trust that, you know, maybe 2 out of 10 deals are going to close, which is realistic, right? So like,
yeah.
So I've adopted basically following this guy, Ryan Holiday, every day, just like Joel for you. And I listen to one video every morning, and it just keeps reminding me like, keep practicing it. It's never going to be perfect, but your stillness and what you can control. His whole method is like, keep reminding yourself that you are constantly dying every day. And in the grand scheme of things, if you were going to die in a week, the majority, 98% of everything is not worth getting mad over, right? I'm not saying don't care about anything and be like a waste of a life.
There's levels to what matters and what doesn't.
Yeah, but he just talks about like the people that have the highest stress in them and whatnot just know how to manage their emotions the best. And he himself has a family, and he talks about like, all right, yeah, in the mornings the kids get up early. It screws up my day. I just have to recenter and realize like today I'm not going to do X. It's okay.
Yep.
But try to get X done the next day, and don't fall into that. So for me, it's been repetition like anything. We'll listen to one of his short videos every morning, and then constantly talking about it and trying to implement it and being like, for me, it's being aware. So I get the most frustrated when I lose my cool and I yell at the kids or whatever. So now I feel it happening, like getting the anger. And then I try to repeat to myself, like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
That's good.
And you sound crazy.
No, I do that all the time.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. They're healthy, whatever. It could be worse. My mom says all the time, drives me effing crazy. When I vent to her and she's like, could be worse. And I'm like, yeah, it could. It could be worse.
Yep.
So I think for me, it's become a little easier because of all the negative stuff that has happened that is worse that I see. And emotionally, it's like tears me up to hear these stories. And then I look at the kids and I'm like, all right, it's hard, but it's really not that bad.
Right.
Like you're just in a bad mood because you haven't slept. It's detaching.
Yes.
Is the thing to keep. It's hard though. It's fucking impossible. Pardon my French. Like I want to lose my mind 9 times a day in the morning before 9 o'clock.
But you don't.
Not all the time.
And the how.
I do though.
Because that's
do though.
That's the important takeaway.
But when you do, I think, and I don't know if you think this way, Dave, back me up. When you do, you say it's less often, right? So like I used to lose my mind every week when we started with the 2 kids. Now it's like once every 3 months.
That's big.
And I feel bad that I do it, but I'm like, listen, 9 out of 10 times I didn't.
Right.
I lost my mind once. I'm a parent. It happens.
Yep. You know.
And my parents and Dana's talked to me about this because I felt really bad. And Dana's like, we all lose our mind. We all lose our shit. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just try again.
Yep. Well said, man. In that same article, and kind of to that same point, it talks about reframing it and like shifting the narrative in whatever way that you do it. But the scientific way here, it says when you're conscious that it's actually just parts of your brain that are keeping you safe, it allows us to develop curiosity to see what's really going on and what we're actually afraid of. And then it says you can make the parts of your brain that are scared our allies instead of our enemies. So that's the scientific like shift right there, right? But for me, the way I reframe it, I'll give you a work example where I do come up with these little slogans in my brain. CV, I'm sure that we'll giggle over there because I've shared this with him before, and I think it's also helped him in his approach as well. But so we have basically a board who controls the town, and any appointed official and any elected official is basically under their supervision, under their discretion. Technically, I could be fired at any moment. So when we go to department head meetings with all the commissioners, we tend to be on the same page because we understand, like, I'm not going to throw you under the bus in front of your boss intentionally because that just doesn't make sense. Like, why would I anger your boss who has the authority to potentially put you in a bad situation, right? So there's this one lady, she's in a higher role, and she started exposing me. Like... And
these ladies, the old ladies are going at you.
Yeah,
what did you do?
So I kind of went over her head. I went over her office's head and went directly to the county level because I reached out to her office 17 times with 0 response. So when that happens,
I'm guessing she doesn't listen. But look that camera in the eye and tell her.
So when that happens, I said, well, you know what? I actually have a relationship with the county individuals myself. So like, I'm just going to go get this done.
Yeah.
So she comes back into this meeting and starts literally looking at me like I just looked in that camera, saying like, well, as a town, we allow these high level individuals think that they're above the law, don't follow the process, the procedure. And meanwhile, I'm like, I got it done.
Yeah.
I got it done. But she was exposing me in a way that it was looking really bad for me.
Yeah.
And instead of like, because the old me would have interrupted and say, well, provide context to that story. Provide the context because I reached out to you in your office 17 times with no response. That's what I would have said to defend myself.
What would have been wrong with that?
And I know, right? But and honestly, if my job is kind of on the line,
good.
You know what I did though?
What'd you do?
I literally said to myself, I'm like, who is she? Who is she? Who is she? in my head.
Who is she?
Who is she?
Oh, is she?
No, who is she? She doesn't pay my bills. She's not going to be the one to make any decision of my job, right? And I'm like, I do fine at my job, and I know that this one individual is not going to have one interaction in front of me with my bosses that are potentially going to fire me over this one thing.
Yeah.
So once I started, but in the moment I had to do that.
Yeah.
Because I would have interrupted her and been like, listen, provide the context now.
Yep.
Because if not, I'll just tell you what it is. But instead I just kept saying, who is she?
Yeah.
Who is she? In my head. So all the time now when I get into those negative interactions, instead of me sabotaging myself in that moment, it was a way for me to reframe it, come up with a little thing in my head to shift the narrative and just say, you know what? It could be worse, like your mom says. Right?
My similar motto to that is just like kill 'em with kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's been multiple times throughout the day where people are getting very testy with me, and I'm not controlling the outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, well, I don't control the outcome. So it's coming, I think about, well, where are they coming from?
Right.
They're coming from a place of frustration because no one else is responding to them. I'm the only person they can vent on, right? So I can't be defensive here. I have to be supportive.
Gotcha. That's
so
good.
like I literally didn't respond to someone because I'm like, let me see where they're like, why are they pissed?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
They're not pissed at me. They're pissed at the situation. So then the response comes, you're very welcome. Like I'll give them a call. I don't know what's going on. You're doing great. You know, like, which is true.
Yes.
Like you're crushing it.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know what to tell you. I don't control this. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm in it with you. Just kind of being light about things has, not saying I don't take things serious. I'm just a lot less like stressed about things because I'm like, I don't control it. If they're going to close on this house, they're going to close on this house.
Yep.
If a fucking lightning bolt hits the house and we lose the deal, I couldn't predict. Could you predict lightning?
Nope.
Your boy probably could. You pay for that service.
That's right.
But like that whole kind of approach to everything has made it a little more, the taking a second to not go with the immediate emotion reaction and text right back has been super productive.
Yep.
You know, like putting the phone down and just doing something else and then coming back to it, which we've talked about in the past, and not being so available. Sometimes I'm too available. You text me, I respond because I want to have a great service, but I'm not doing any one service there.
Yes.
You know, if I just respond, hey, I don't know, is it productive? Or let me go check, let me report back, hey, I checked, I still don't know, but I left a message, right? One convo versus like 20 texts.
Yep.
So it's kind of like this nuance of emotion management, not only for myself, but people I'm dealing with.
I like that.
Has been like a different type of.
That's good. Very good.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to become a monk, dude.
A monk.
Maybe I'll just leave real estate and be a monk.
Monkey
Sounds
Pirelli.
fun, no?
Not Mikey Pirelli. He's Monkey Pirelli.
And think about it. So I have someone we've talked to in the past. I have a couple agents that are going at me. They're coming after me. Yeah. And instead of getting mad
She
about
old?
it,
Is he old? It's old, right?
no comment.
Old.
No, I don't know. There's a couple, right? So in my head, I'm like, all right, well, where are they coming from? Like, they're threatened, which is cool. Like, I would be threatened. Like, if I was coming up and I saw this kid doing these videos and like all in my face, yeah, like I'd be annoyed, right? Like, just being realistic about like, not everyone's gonna like you for a good reason. Like, I'm not giving them reasons to like me. I'm literally joining the NBA, and I'm a expansion team, and our team gives out free food during the games.
Gotcha.
Like, I'd be pissed as man. I'm like, he's costing me money.
Yep.
So I can't get mad at them. You know.
I like that.
And like people going after my listings, yeah, if they don't want to work with me,
That's a very good perspective to have. Tough, though.
You know what it is? Dating back in the day. I'm gonna go back. We don't talk relationships on here. I'm just gonna talk about a mindset. I've self-sabotaged in the past when I've cared too much of what the other person thinks.
Oh yeah.
Versus I know what I am and it's their loss, right? In anything. So with clients, you don't sell every house, right? So I can't get mad if for them I'm not just the fit and they choose someone else. I can't take that personal. That other person has a family to feed. They're trying to do the best by them. Yes, maybe their intentions are a little different sometimes, but it comes from a place they're trying to make some money to provide for their family.
Right.
Is my, you know, maybe some people are bad people, but I'm assuming they're a good person.
Yes.
And that is what it is. And you give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And if people cross you, it's like, all right, well, now I know, and I won't go out of my way to help you anymore, right? But give everyone the benefit of the doubt first, and then adjust depending on what the results are. Easy.
I like that.
Versus that someone made a quote like, when you have grudges and stuff, it's acid and it just hurts you because you're like festering on it. You don't do what you want to do. Versus like, oh, that person hates me. It's kind of funny. Like, I'd hate me too.
Yes.
And then just going out and doing whatever you're doing anyway.
That one hit for me.
Do you like that?
Ding, I had a ding moment. I like it.
Why are they mad? Why are you mad? Hot 97. Tell me why you're mad.
That's right. That's good. So I want to leave everybody with a also something that I did unintentionally, I believe, but I think it also helps avoid self-sabotage. And it's basically creating like non-negotiables, rules of thumb.
How you are.
Rules of thumb in your life that basically will allow you to move in one direction without even thinking about the other, right? A stupid one that I have is sometimes I put myself in bad spots to make decisions, right? Like I'll be at the grocery store and I'll be like, do I need, because I'll go to BJ's, right? Because you could buy 58 steaks at once. So now I have a rule of thumb that if I know my big items, like your paper towel that you buy from BJ's, your soaps that you buy from BJ's, your coffee pods that you buy from BJ's, anything in big quantities, if before I leave my house, I can sense that an item is going to be out within 2 weeks, I buy it on that next trip. So I never run into the situation of like, oh my God, I got to run out right now. And then that will eventually sabotage something else that I could have gotten done.
Organization.
Right. Another rule of thumb that I have, this one's at work. And again, these are silly ones, but I feel like we've never spoke about them.
I think these are the most productive
maybe
ones.
you can, come up with something yourself. I have a lot of documents that I work on throughout the day, right? I'm editing constantly, something that's got to be presented on a town level, on a state level, local level, whatever, grant opportunities, blah, blah, blah. I have a rule of thumb that when I have one that's of importance, I don't shut my computer off for the night and I leave that document actually up. I save it and I save it as to make sure that it's there. But I know that I am lessening my chances to not go back to that document if that document is not staring in my face the second I walk in the morning.
I like
right?
that one.
And it also backs up my task list that I have at work as well. But that's just a little, loose leaf paper. And honestly, I would forget that more than I would forget, just leaving the document actually up.
By the way, so I do that as well, but unlike you, I've made the mistake of not saving it.
Well, no,
and our computers at work,
you gotta save it.
They what's it called? They do like updates and they'll shut down.
Yep.
Lost stuff.
And then the other. Oh, go ahead.
The office, I don't do paper anymore. So paper overwhelms me.
Yep, I don't.
So
do
I will
either.
print it temporarily if I need it for something, but I do everything on my iPad and the G Drive. Because it's just another step that I don't need. When I'm on the phone with someone, I go into it's called Streak, a CRM, write in the email, notes, that's it. Don't think about it.
That's a very refreshing thing, too, in business. People ask me all the time, they're like, do you even work? Like, your office is just really clean. There's no papers here, blah, blah. If I have a physical paper.
I didn't say that.
Literally what I do, though, is I go into the room next door, which is a scanner. I scan it, send it to myself, save it in a thing, so I have it. And then it's very rewarding to crumple a piece of paper up and throw it out for whatever reason.
Yeah, I have a shredder because legally you need to we shred stuff.
That's good.
But I remember thinking on a showing, I was like, when I give people a packet, they don't look at it, or B, they look at it and don't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, give it to them at the end, and usually via email is the easiest. Because then it's all organized. Just send it. It's a lot more scalable.
Yes.
So I just made that adjustment like during COVID, and then when I started my own firm, I kind of thought like, all right, what didn't I like about what I did previously, and this is a good opportune moment to change that.
Yes.
Because it's a new start type of thing. So
I had this manager at Nike. Oftentimes I reference things from back then, but I don't think I've spoke about this one. And there was a concept which was basically became a rule of thumb for our operation, and it was do $100 tasks first before you do anything that's less than $100 task.
It's called Eat the Frog.
So, for example, what we would do, right? CB's looking at me, pondering, right? So we would have task lists as, sales reps and employees that would have to set up the store. So $100 tasks would be like making sure that your big ticket items are on display properly, right? Making sure that your expensive shoes are in the front, your least expensive ones are in the back. Okay, now I have to sweep the floor, right? But I should take care of the shoes first because that's a $100 ticket item versus sweeping the floor. You can sweep the floor while people are looking at the $100 items. You could take out the garbage when people are looking at the $100 items, but make sure your $100 task tasks are taken care of before those that are less than $100 for whatever that means in your business.
Yeah. So, for example, like me talking to potential listings is way more productive and return on time versus
Put the camera on him, man.
sending mailers.
Yo, see, this is when CV gets good, when he's locked in.
That's good. No, but it's literally throughout the day, it's endless what you could work on. So ultimately, there's priorities that are actually going to create new business versus just kind of like checking in with people. It doesn't really, there's no urgency.
Yeah. Just to this whole thing, I am big on
just leave it there. I am big.
Lack of better words. I'm kind of obsessed with routines and personal patterns, and I think the more that you can identify how you operate, like whatever you're hearing from Mike, CV, and I today might not, hit for you in that specific way, but reframe the pattern to make it work for you. Yeah. And that's something that I've really become obsessed with just in terms of consuming content. Like, I can't be Ed Milet, I can't be Joel Osteen, but I can take things from them, reframe it into what works for me. So that little $100, rule of thumb, that's a really good tactic. But now take it, think about it in your life. What's pressing, what's not pressing, what can you prioritize first that's not going to ultimately sabotage something that you're doing?
So as far as I just thought about this, the keeping the screen up, I when I start to write an email and I'm waiting on a piece of the email, I leave it in the, like, how you can minimize it, but it's there, and then so I can click it and open it up. And drafts, I delete all my drafts that I've done that I don't need, and then I look and I'm like, what didn't I finish? And then
it's amazing how many drafts come up, right?
Yeah, because it auto saves, so sometimes you'll have like 4 of the same thing.
Yes,
but that's been a super productive, like not letting things fall through the cracks, because you'll do something, be like, the person didn't send me the document, but I need to get this out today. So you just kind of like put it to the side, and at the end of the day, you're like, all right, it's 4:00. Why is this draft here? And then you're like, oh, get me the,
We don't realize what we really have potential to sabotage in our lives. I spoke in depth last episode, I think, on the morning routine and my preparation and stuff like that. But all of that plays into sabotage. Me not doing that the night before is an extreme version of self-sabotage for that following day. And that's how we have to get clear on this type of stuff.
Why do you think a big form of sabotage for people's food?
I think it's the same thing as like a substance abuse. Honestly, I think when you find something that you can,
it's like a comfort thing.
Yes, when you can find comfort. That's exactly what I was going to say. Find comfort within the uncomfortable situation in a bad way. I think it works really well. Like, for example, we've gone to parties where you just said at your wife's 30th, you were like, "F this, let me just get drunk." I've done the same thing. Seriously, but that's a form of substance abuse, right?
Yeah.
And I think food does the same thing. It gives you that immediate like dopamine, like, wow, you know what? Like, this is actually a comfort thing. This is comfort eating. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so obsessed with the gym, because no addiction is a good addiction. Unfortunately, I am kind of addicted to the fitness piece. And I would rather have a good, healthy addiction versus a bad one. Even though it does throw me off when I'm not, when I can't work out or something like that. But I think that's how impactful those addictions really are.
Yeah. Yeah. The comfort things, like, I find that when I'm real stressed, I want like, I just visualize like amazing meals. I don't know why.
It's tough. CV, you wanted to say something. And we are on time, so there will be no. I am sorry, but there will be no dime this week. Somebody write in and tell me that it's 2 weeks without a dime, and I'll bring double the dimes next week.
Quarter's coming. +5.
I got caught on something you said earlier, and I'm trying not to. The $100 ticket item, that stuff, I love it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm going to use that at some point.
Yep.
Did your Nike manager tell you what happens when the employee takes care of the $100 item, and they're consistent with the $100 item because it's the $100 item, but then they start neglecting or falling behind on the $1 item consistently?
No, so that's sabotage.
Right.
Seriously.
So what did the manager say?
No, we have to get all tasks done, right? So again, that's a priority list. But once you take care of the most expensive items first, it's still your duty to make sure that all the tasks for that day are completed at some point, right? So you just can't go to the $1 million ticket items and just take care of the good stuff, because the little things end up adding up in the long run, right? So me not taking out the trash one instinct, right, might not be that impactful in the moment, but if I don't take out the trash for a week and now people are walking in the store and a dirty diaper is in the garbage and it stinks, now it's going to ultimately take away from the $100 ticket item, right? So you can never allow those little items to fall by the wayside so much that then it affects the $100 ticket. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, I'm going to use this. I'm gonna
You
use
can't
this with,
neglect, man. That's neglect.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
That's like, look at Mike. My man only bench presses. Now look at his calves, bro.
I was doing a lot of calves yesterday.
Sabotage his calves.
Calves
He
would be good.
sabotaged his own legs because he got his chest so big that people just think that his legs are small.
I think of my body like building a fence, right? You got to go slow.
But you miscalculated.
It makes
that.
sense. He miscalculated.
I did. I miscalculated. I thought my calves would really grow with me, but they haven't.
Calves and abs. How's it going?
I actually was doing it. I swear to God, calves and abs with Juliana because she was bouncing around. So I was like doing some leg raises and then calf raises, and then I do some crunches.
That sounds like a good show. I thought you said cabs and abs. Like you go into
Like in a
different
cab.
cabs.
You could do that.
You're working out while you're talking to a random cab driver. That's a pretty good
Could do
concept.
that.
Go ahead, do that. All right, guys. Anything else?
No, I can't wait tomorrow to lose my mind to be like, what did I say in the podcast?
Listen, I'm sorry to the listeners. I know you guys. I know you're butthurt that I'm not giving you a dime today. But I apologize.
You know what? I do think the majority of people that come to the end of these, which majority of people, it's got to be at least 2. They're probably really missing out on the dime.
Yeah.
So listen. I'll make you a promise. DM Dave on Instagram and ask for a personal dime. If you made it this far in the episode, not only like, subscribe, nosnooshop.com.
That's right.
DM Dave and he'll hit you with a personal dime.
No, I'm not gonna lie.
That's great.
I'm leaving you with this though. Talk about dimes, and I almost sent you a picture. I don't know why. Oh, I remember. My phone was actually in the cup holder of my car, so I couldn't do it. So I went into the store to ask for change for $1 to pay for the parking meter. Dude gave me all dimes.
Oh, I love it.
I was like,
He was just like, you know what?
it was
in life.
crazy. And I only took quarters, and he knew that. It was right outside his store, and he only gave me dimes. Dude tried to sabotage me with dimes.
I think he must listen. He was trolling you.
That's right. So Dimeless Dave today. Listen, guys, as always, we thank you so much for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for purchasing a hoodie. The seasons are going to change soon, so we might go more into the tees.
I want short shorts. Who's designing our
Poon
outfits?
poons?
Because I want to show off my calves.
There are no poon poons.
Is that what they call those?
Yeah, the poon poons.
I don't know if I like that.
So listen, until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Dude, your calves actually got bigger too.
You can tell.
Yeah. So.
That's another Effie in the books. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at No Snooze Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze.